What's going on, YouTube, and welcome back to Goal Line Hockey. It is Kevin Forte coming to you today with another video, and today we are talking about the New York Islanders. So, of course, it's been a couple weeks since my last video on the Islanders. Basically, I do this like probably once a month, kind of my pulse on the Islanders, and you know, since the last time we talked about the Islanders, it's been just a roller coaster. This has been that type of season for the Islanders where in any given game, in any given month, in any given situation, the Islanders could be on such a high and oh my god, this team could really make the playoffs and really make some noise. And then all of a sudden things can just tragically fall apart in the most absurd, unthinkable way. And that happened again this week for the New York Islanders. Guys, if you like this content, want to see more of it, make sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe. So the Islanders, once again, are teasing the fans, and this is one of those things where the Islanders' lack of true depth on the roster is clearly showing its colors. And, you know, let's just take a look, because I think really what tells the story for the Islanders is kind of how things have gone over the last couple of weeks. So looking at the Islanders' schedule here, this is their schedule and their recent play. So right there you could see the Islanders' record, 29, 23, and 15 with 73 points, fourth in the Metropolitan Division. And, you know, you kind of look at Patrick Roy's record at the helm of the team, you know, since Lane Lambert left, and things really haven't gotten that much better. The goals for the Islanders, 20th in the league. Goals against, 22nd. We are not used to seeing that. This is like pre-Barry Trotz, pre-Lou Lamoriello era, like terrible defense from the Islanders. We are just not used to seeing that from this type of team. And, you know, back in the day, you could say, yeah, well, the Islanders didn't score a ton of goals, but they didn't give up a lot of goals. They were always top 5 in the league in terms of goals against. Well, you could clearly see here they are officially bottom 10 in the NHL for goals against, and they're actually scoring more goals. Their goal ranking for is better than their goals against. Now, really a huge thing you have to look at with the Islanders so far this season is just the lack of real consistency. And that's been a huge problem for the Islanders really for the last 2 years now. And when you look at the Islanders' schedule, that's kind of indicative of that as well. So, you know, really we're going to go back to that Stadium Series game, which I think was a good benchmark for the Islanders here as of late. And just looking at where the Islanders sit, right? Let's go back to this game, right? The Ranger game. So they played the Rangers, right? And really what you're looking at is the 6-5 loss in overtime. They beat Pittsburgh 5-4. They lose 2 games back-to-back to St. Louis and Tampa. And then they go on a 6-game winning streak, and some of those actually being impressive wins. The Dallas win, a 3-2 OT victory. That was a big win. Detroit, who was in the middle of a long losing streak, and that game is going to come back. I think that was a big win for the Islanders looking back. A very dominant win over Boston, 5-1. Another dominant win over St. Louis, 4-2. And here's the crux of the season. We get to these 2 games out in Southern California. They play San Jose and Anaheim. They score a combined 13 goals in those 2 games and give up only 3. Which would think that that is pure dominance, and now that's a 5 and 6 game winning streak for the Islanders. And this team is probably riding as high as they have all of this season at that point. Except I think these 2 games are the worst thing to happen to the New York Islanders this season so far. Because, yes, they won those games and they were in dominant fashion and they did what they were supposed to do against teams that are not very good, quite frankly. Except since then, we have seen the utter collapse of this team in more ways than one. So the first game to finish out that road trip out in Cali, right? 3-0 shutout to the Kings. They just didn't show up for that game. Buffalo, you know, I would love to say that they just played a horrible game, which they did. But really, they lost that game in the second period, giving up, I think, 3 of those 4 goals in, I think, like a 10-minute span in the second period. The Islanders just have not been good in the second period. So it's not really that surprising, but that hampered any chance of the Islanders coming back and winning this game. And again, not a great performance by Sorokin. The defense wasn't all that good in front of him, but Sorokin left you wanting more. Same thing for the Senators game, except, Varlamov, you can't even blame Varlamov for the game because the defense was horrible. Kachuk gets a hat trick, a couple of bad penalties both ways, and the Islanders just didn't look like they wanted it. I went to that game at UBS, and I'm sitting there watching the game, and I'm saying to myself in the second period, like, whoever wins this game truly isn't going to deserve to win. It's going to be a matter of just, like, where does the puck bounces end up going? And that's not to discredit Ottawa, but neither team really wanted it. And for a team like the Islanders that, for Ottawa, you would expect that, right? A little bit sloppy. They traded some guys at the deadline. They're bottom of the Atlantic Division. You expect that from the Senators at this time of year. But for the Islanders, who are barely on the brink at that point on the playoffs, you would expect the Islanders to be the team coming out, asserting dominance, and taking control of that type of game. They just didn't do that. And a very easy victory for the Islanders, in all honesty. When the Islanders showed up during the game, they were dominating Ottawa. The first period, utter dominance over Ottawa. They deserved the lead in the first period. And then the second period starts, and it's just like, what happened? And they followed that up on Sunday with another benchmark game. And we talked about this in that last Stadium Series video. The next benchmark being now, which is a Sunday matinee game at Madison Square Garden against your crosstown rivals, and it's on St. Patrick's Day. This is an opportunity for the Islanders to really get things going. And to make matters even worse, Saturday, the Islanders played a matinee game on Saturday. So did the Rangers. But their game started 2 hours later out in Pittsburgh. So the Islanders took a bus ride Saturday night into Manhattan to stay at the hotel for Saturday night for Sunday's game. The Rangers had to actually travel home from Pittsburgh on a road game that Saturday, which started 2 hours later, and it was a travel that was much further than the Islanders. So the Islanders theoretically should have had the advantage there. Oh, and guess what? There's more. The Islanders also were a little more rested. The Rangers have played their 5th game in 8 days. So theoretically, all the advantages going into this game were for the Islanders' side. Despite the Rangers' standing situation, the Islanders had an edge going into this game. They come out 1-0 at the end of the first period, and like usual, the second and third period collapse commenced soon after. 27 seconds into the second period, Mika Zibanejad scores once again against the Islanders. That's 2 straight games now for Mika scoring against the Isles. The story continues. The Islanders cannot get things done. The combination of bad defensive play, I'm sorry, and I'd love to point out just one defenseman, but Ryan Pollock and Noah Dobson in particular, they get the puck behind the net, and they immediately throw it up the boards in a situation where they don't necessarily have to. They're pressuring themselves to the point where they don't need to, and it's causing a ton of turnovers. And I'd love to just point out the defenseman, but Simon Holmstrom, similar situation. There was a couple times in the Buffalo game, he basically should have gotten an assist for that power play goal the Sabres scored because he kept turning the puck over on a penalty kill. There were 2 times where he could have easily cleared the puck and didn't. And you know what? Let's round the table out. Mike Riley the other day against the Rangers, a perfectly easy... The Rangers basically gave up on it. They saw Riley had the puck, easy clear. No, he kind of half-assed it, and it barely went over the blue line, and it didn't. The Rangers were able to get to it before it got to the blue line, and they kept it in the zone. An easy clearing attempt that is just not executed. And those are the type of things... And that ended up leading to a goal. And then there was in the Sabres game, there was a couple times that happened. In the Ottawa game, the Islanders in the neutral zone, in their own end, are terrible. And when the Islanders do get the puck in the other team's end, and that's one of the improvements I will say under Patrick Waugh, they've been a lot better in their own end. In terms of cycling the puck around and moving the puck, that has been better. But there's still problems where they're not shooting the puck, and again, a lot of this comes down to right now just the lack of confidence for the Islanders. And to be honest with you, after the 6-game winning streak, I would have told you, things look really good for the Islanders. Hey, you know what? They could get things done. But then you immediately follow that up with 4 straight losses, and a couple of them being key losses. The Islanders just can't afford to do that and expect to make the playoffs. And I'm sorry, but you cannot lose to teams like Ottawa. You cannot lose to teams... Honestly, the Kings are a fringe playoff team, but you cannot lose to all those teams when you're trying to make the playoffs. It just doesn't happen. And if you expect to make the playoffs, sleepwalking your way through crosstown rival games, in the end of March and losing to teams like Ottawa, you're not going to make the playoffs. And the Red Wings have been so bad for so long now, they're going to turn the corner. And usually when you have a fight during practice, usually that's the thing that kind of wakes everybody up and gets them going. I'm very concerned for the Islanders. And, let's not forget, the Washington Capitals still hold a lot of the cards in their own destiny as well. They're a team right now, I'm not going to pull up the standings, but the Capitals play a lot of these teams down the stretch, including the Islanders, that they could still push themselves into the playoffs, despite selling at the trade deadline. And any team with that Alex Ovechkin on it is going to be a threat. Ivan Miroshnichenko has come up and played really well. Don't count them out yet. And the Flyers, they also haven't been playing well, but the way they've been playing compared to the Islanders, it's kind of a toss-up, whoever gets that spot. And that's if things go in the Metro. If things go in the Metro the way you want. Because right now, the Atlantic is picking things up. Tampa's in the wild card hunt, right? You've got Detroit in there. It's not clear yet on what's going to happen. And the Islanders are finding themselves by the day losing games like Ottawa that should be 2 easy points. You can't have that happen. And 1 point isn't enough at this point in the year for the Islanders. And yeah, it's great they were able to tie the game late, but they should have never been in that position. They should have been up 3-2, and they should have been able to win that game, but they didn't. And it all comes down to the lack of they look tired, they look lethargic, they look disinterested, in all honesty. And I don't know how they're going to fix it the rest of the way. It's easy to say call up Matthew Maggio and Ruslan Ishkov, but the reality is I just don't see Lou Lamoriello doing that. He's not going to do it. And, unless there's a serious injury to the team where they're forced to make a move like that, this is going to be a tough couple weeks to end the season for the Islanders. And I would temper my expectations. I expect them not to make the playoffs. If they get in, they're going to have to walk their way or sneak their way in because everybody else around them was just horrible. And I just don't see that happening. I think the teams that make the playoffs in the wild card in the Eastern Conference are going to earn it. And right now, I just don't see the Islanders as one of those teams. So let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. What do you guys think of the Islanders so far throughout the year of 2024? Let me know your guys' thoughts down below. As always, make sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe to the channel. Guys, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you again next time.